Welcome back to Territory Wars Explained, a collaboration series from, of course, Skelturix and speaking yours truly, Nukin, where we're so happy to bring you another episode of TW Explained, and we're going to just make sure that you guys know that we're going to be ending the week very shortly on Skelly's channel, and next week we'll be doing the episodes on my channel, so be sure to subscribe to us both, give us a like on this video if you love the content, and be sure to leave us a comment after watching. We love to hear from you guys. So now, without further ado, let's get right into our next episode. This is going to be episode 5 on the Sith. That's right. The Sith are also another great faction when you have a Darth Traya in the mix. You put in the triumvirate and you have a solid TW offense or defense team. Since we're going to be focusing on the strongest Sith squads, which involve Traya on the team, we're going to actually be estimating that you're going to start seeing a lot of these more commonly around the 140 million GP bracket, but this might actually start to decrease over time as the Sith raid becomes even easier, which it already has been. So potentially, if you're watching this later down the road, it might be a team you start seeing in the 100 to 120 million GP bracket. Regardless, the difficulty level of farming this team, it's going to be hard. The Traya Sith team requires multiple hard-node characters, Darth Sion, Darth Nihilus. Also, Darth Traya is going to take you time. There's no way that you can just whale up and unlock Traya. It takes a few months after being Heroic Sith ready, so definitely a hard farm to acquire this team, but the difficulty level of farming, I guess, pays off because they do have that hard difficulty. It's not like they're going to be unbeatable. No team is, for that matter, but they will actually take some time to defeat. There are some teams that are either hard to acquire or hard to execute to be able to defeat the Traya Sith squads on defense. Now let's start talking about how you place the Sith on defense. So it starts off with our leader, the support character of the team, Darth Traya. Now she also hits very hard. She has stacking offense synergy as well with the rest of the Sith triumvirate, so she also can hit as hard as some of the attackers out there. She has 2 Zetas, and Skelly and I are recommending that you do both of them. They are required. One of them is going to allow the Sith to cleanse. The other Zeta is going to give her the leadership capabilities of countering many other meta teams out there in TW. Modding wise, it used to be sort of an offense mod set, but it's starting to turn out to be a speed set in a post-Revan Jedi meta world. The speed set is going to allow her to potentially go quicker than some of those Jedi and many other teams, and you're going to also want to run a 2-piece critical chance set because you want her to be able to at least crit maybe once or twice on that saber attack because she can do pretty large damage. Also, you want to make sure that you're going to be running some protection or some sort of defensive triangle and cross because she has that stacking offense, and a lot of the teams are going to start to try to go for her first. Even the non-Revan teams sometimes try to go for Darth Traya very quickly, and once she goes down, the rest of the Sith can be debuffed and it can lose control of the battle on AI control. For secondaries, you're looking for offense percentage, crit chance, speed, and some sort of health or protection secondaries. Moving on from our leader, we have the character that is always hungry and he wants everyone in his belly, the Sith Triumvirate member Darth Nihilus. So far this is 2 out of the 3, one more to go after this one. Nihilus is a character that is labeled as a support hero, but he also has the capability of one-shotting anyone if he can get Annihilate off. So in that ways, he's also kind of like an attacker in a way, but delayed. It's kind of strange. There's no other character like this guy. He has a very cool kit regardless. Zeta wise, he has 1 Zeta, and that is going to be required. Not only does it synergize independently with his kit, but every debuff flying around is going to heal the rest of the Sith up as well, so that's going to be very good. And it also makes it easier to, if you're going to take out a hero non-Annihilate wise, maybe with another sort of character like Darth Sion or Darth Traya, they do have reduced health pool, so it's easy to do a big one-shot attack. Now, you're also going to want to put speed sets and speed secondaries on those mods because you're looking for the capability of get to Annihilate quicker. The more turns he takes, the more turns he can use his abilities, which actually also decrease the cooldown of Annihilate. For the two-piece, you're looking for a tenacity set. For the primaries, you're looking for a health triangle and a tenacity cross. Now, this is because it's going to counter any sort of counter strategies that they may try to employ on you when you place this team on defense. For example, if you're facing up against a counter like the Grand Admiral Thrawn team with a Magma Trooper and he's trying to reduce that turn meter, for example, it's less likely to pass that potency and tenacity check if you have a bunch of tenacity on your nihilist, like close to 100%. Now, you're also going to want to make sure that you're modding this guy with not only speed but also a little bit of health as well on that secondaries, because it's going to synergize with his capability of growing his health pool, and sometimes he doesn't even have enough time to grow that quick enough, so that it's going to help a little bit. Everything else is really not going to be very important. He doesn't really need any potency or any sort of flat defense. Moving on to our Darth Scion, the last member of the Sith Triumvirate. He is going to be one of the tanks on the team, but he's also kind of like a bruiser. He can hit quite hard, especially when he gets to the hatred mode, that big cooldown where he powers up kind of like a Super Saiyan. He does have one Zeta, and that is also required. That's going to allow him to really get more of that taunting action going on, and also, just like Nihilus, the more debuffs flying around, the more you're able to synergize with Treya's leadership. Now, modding wise, you're going to want to put an offense mod set and a two-piece crit chance set. You can also do a speed set. Just make sure that this guy is actually quicker than your Darth Nihilus. Continuing on with the modding suggestions, on the triangle, we're looking for a offense triangle. If you can get his crit chance high enough, a critical damage triangle will also be quite good, because he can get some decent critical chance on the secondaries, and hatred does boost his crit chance a tad. Now, for the cross, you're looking for an offense cross as well, but it wouldn't be too bad to have a protection cross. Now, also for the secondaries, you're looking for offense, speed, flat defense, critical chance. Some of these secondaries are going to definitely help him out. If you're struggling to land pain, which isn't actually the end of the world in arena, you could also put some potency secondaries. So we wrapped up the Sith Triumvirate. Now there's two more characters. The next one you'll probably have already noticed before, the Sith Trooper. He has no Zetas. He's a tank of the team, and he's very, very tanky. He's like a wall. In fact, he's not one of those kind of unique utility tanks. He has one job, and that is to have taunt on him. He has a lot of defense, and you're going to actually want to give him defense mod sets, whether that's 6 defense mods or 4 defense mods and a 2-piece health set. The combination of health and defense mods with health and defense secondaries is going to be the way to go. For the arrow, since Darth Treya is your leader, there is some critical avoidance synergy. You could potentially put a critical avoidance arrow on the Sith Trooper, and that could be quite good as well. You could also even put a % defense arrow if you're trying to cut some corners, but you're definitely going to want to have awesome secondaries on a mod like that. Don't just go and put any sort of white mod in that position. You could also put a speed arrow, which is basically what most people do, but you may have something laying around like that. Health and protection also works. In my preference, it's easier to actually just put a speed arrow on him and then don't worry about too much speed secondaries for the rest of his modding. We have one last character to cover, and that's going to be Count Dooku. Now, Count Dooku is also a Sith, and he's not usually on the arena team. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen him except for one of the very first few days Treya entered the arena. Now, Count Dooku is designed to be a 5th to counter one of the counters, which is the Grand Admiral Thrawn Magma Trooper team. He has a counterattack, and when he has enough potency combined with Treia's leadership, which also grants potency, he can actually start to land stuns on some of the most tenacious characters, for example the Magma Trooper. And when Magma Trooper gets stunned, that whole sort of infinite loop strategy gets halted and can potentially be ruined from there, and you can get a hold on defense with your Treia team. So now let's talk about his Zetas. He has one Zeta. It is optional, it's not required to still sort of prevent that counter, but it will be helpful, will make the team even more difficult to fight, especially with that Thrawn Magma Trooper counter. Now for modding wise, you're going to want to give him 6 potency mods. That is going to allow him to have extra potency to be able to land some of those stuns with his special, with his basics, and that is part of the reason why he's so good and used in TW defense. To wrap up the modding, you do want to give him a critical chance triangle or an offense primary triangle if you have Dooku Zetaed. If you do not, consider doing something more defensive because he is a little bit on the squishy side, like a health primary triangle. For the cross, you're looking for potency, and if you can't get a good potency cross, do a tenacity primary cross, because that is also kind of what you're looking for in the secondaries: tenacity, potency, some flat defense or health, and also some secondary speed. So now that we've wrapped up the team that you probably want to place on defense with your Treia-led Sith squad, we do have some replacements or substitutions. So Skelly and I were discussing this, and for the same sort of purposes that the Dooku has, very similar purposes, you can also put Ness. It will actually make the team a little bit tougher in some regards versus other teams, but versus actually the counter, this is countering one specific team with the Magma Trooper. Dooku in some ways is actually better because of all that extra potency. Ness is also used all across TW, and Dooku really is not, so this is his only time to really shine. Now another sort of replacement, if you're not going to go with Ness, is Savage Opress. Savage Opress is also very tanky, and he can get a bunch of turn meter when he's attacked, and because of the AoE attacks flying around from the enemy side and some sort of basic attacks that can actually do multiple hits on basics randomly, Savage could get hit a bunch and then also from there take a bunch of turns and start to wreak havoc. So Savage Opress is going to be difficult, and another sort of Sith that you could put on the team is just going to be a Sith assassin that's very fast, and it's going to do some sort of defensive holds. For example, there's not going to be a chance potentially for the Thrawn to give turn meter to the Death Trooper, for example, or someone else if you have a really fast Sith assassin, because she could be quite quick. So now let's talk about how do you counter the Sith triumvirate teams if you run across them on TW Offense Day. So if you encounter the Sith triumvirate in TW, we have 4 teams to showcase how you can use these teams to beat the Sith. So our first option is actually a team that we suggested earlier against the First Order. That is none other than the Zeta Finn Resistance Squads, with a special guest, Darth Sidious with his Zeta. This squad can work against the Sith triumvirate if your Poe is actually quicker than the Sith squad, because he'll go first, reduce the turn meter, and then it's just a matter of popping all the exposes. Now it's not going to be 100% consistent, but if your Poe goes first and you have enough potency on your team, you should most likely win. Just make sure to take out Darth Treia and Darth Nihilus ASAP. Now moving on to our second team here, we have the Night Sisters. So an Asajj Ventress leadership with 5 Night Sisters, like the usual suspects, Daka, Zombie, Talzin, etc., are going to be able to take out a Treia Sith squad. The goal here is to just kind of grind it out for a few minutes, and then suddenly your Asajj and Daka will just get powered up by all the deaths and revives going on with your Night Sister team, and they'll just start being able to just sort of just one-shot the Sith Trooper and other characters on the team. And Darth Nihilus, if he annihilates Night Sister Zombie, then you're most likely going to win the match for sure, because it'll take a while to get another Annihilate ready to go. By then, it's too late, and Ventress is going to be basically one-shotting most of the characters on her own, and definitely with the assistance of the rest of the team. When you take out Traya, you can then really start to take control of the match by sort of capitalizing on stuns with Daka and Night Sister Spirit, etc. Or if you're not using her, Talia, even Talia has some stagger, etc. to more sort of controlling capabilities, and Asajj Ventress can also stun, and by default indirectly Talzin can also stun by calling Ventress to assist. Now let's move into our second to last team that we want to showcase to you guys. This is going to be a Grand Admiral Thrawn Empire team. So this has a core of Thrawn leadership with Death Trooper and Magma Trooper. The last two slots are kind of optional. Some people like to use Director Krennic, especially if they have Death Trooper zated, and then they like to use either Stormtrooper or Shore Trooper. Other people like to put Palpatine and Probe Droid because there's synergy with Palpatine triggering the probe droid to activate the second special, and then you can blow up Darth Traya or Sion or Nihilus or one of the triumvirate right away, usually Traya, and you can actually have some strong consistency in beating Traya teams on offense with this team. Sometimes it can go to the wire, to the very last few 60 seconds of the match or last 30 seconds of the match, but most of the time, if played correctly and modded well, this team will work. The trick is to give Thrawn turn meter to Death Trooper, start off with that AoE, and you can increase cooldowns and use your Magma Trooper to continue to attack Darth Sion, and he's going to get pain and he's going to gain turn meter, etc. And he can go again and again and again and again. You can kind of just whittle down the team, and once you've taken out a character, you can have access to the death mark from Death Trooper, and you can basically death mark Traya or Nihilus, for example, and win the match from there. Skelly and I have one more team to showcase to you guys, and that's going to be the First Order with Phasma as a special guest 5th character. Now, Kylo Ren Unmasked lead can take out the Traya Sith triumvirate teams on offense, especially if you have a very quick First Order officer and you're not overlapping the turn meter gains from the Mask Kylo and Phasma. So that's going to be one trick there, is to find a good balance of not wasting the turn meter. Now Phasma works nicely here because she is another sort of character on top of the turn meter gain that can supply advantage, and that's going to allow you to sort of bypass the anti-critical synergy that Traya's leadership brings. Her leadership allows characters on the enemy side to have minus 40% critical chance, so that's quite a lot of critical chance, and you do want to be critting when you're a First Order character, right? So the advantage is a guaranteed crit, so you can kind of counter that in that way. Now the trick here is to make sure that you're getting rid of the taunts and getting rid of Traya ASAP, and once you take out Traya for sure, you can then start to manipulate the battle by reducing the turn meter of Darth Nihilus and stunning key characters and sort of just taking control of the battle. Be cautious of Darth Nihilus. You do not want him to annihilate anyone, and use First Order officer's cleansing ability to get rid of pain and to get through back to attacking Darth Nihilus. As we begin to wind down, guys, make sure to realize that there are going to be also other teams out there that can defeat Darth Traya Sith teams on offense. This is not the end all be all. Also, Skelly and I wanted to relay two quick things to you guys. First, our test accounts are currently unavailable, so that's why we haven't been posting videos every single day. We're actually going to have to put a pause to episode 6 going forwards until we regain access to those accounts. But do not fret, because because we will pick up where we left off, and we also have a bunch more TW content to showcase. We're going to be doing a few videos on my channel, so stay tuned for that. Probably after Halloween later this week. It's going to be pretty cool, and we're excited to also showcase more TW content and continuing our TW Explain series brand. So stay tuned for that on my channel. And Skel and I wanted to thank everyone so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. Leave us a comment down below. We love reading your comments, and give this video a like if you enjoyed the content. And we'll see you all later for another TW Explained series video.